You open your eyes for the very first time in the year 2002. Congratulations, you've just been born into the largest economic class on Earth. The people who drive the buses, stock the shelves, fix the roads, deliver the packages, work the factories, answer customer support calls, and somehow, despite keeping society running every single day, they're still worried about money. Welcome to the working class. Now before you panic, things could be worse. You weren't born during the Black Death. You weren't born in the middle of a world war. And you weren't born as the guy responsible for fixing office printers. So life is already looking pretty good. Unfortunately, you've also been born into a family where every major purchase requires a committee meeting. Your parents aren't. At least not according to the government. They have a roof over their heads, food in the kitchen, a television in the living room, and a car parked outside. The American dream, or the Indian dream, or whatever dream people are currently selling this year. But there's a secret nobody talks about. Everything your family owns is actually a future expense. The car isn't transportation, it's a repair bill that hasn't happened yet. The refrigerator isn't an appliance, it's a countdown timer. The washing machine is essentially a financial landmine waiting for the perfect moment to explode. You don't understand any of this yet. You're a baby. Your biggest concern is whether the colorful object in front of you can fit into your mouth. The answer, by the way, is always yes. As you grow older, you begin to notice strange rituals performed by adults. Your father comes home from work and immediately stares into space for 20 minutes. At first, you think he's resting. Years later, you'll realize he was calculating expenses. Your mother somehow performs miracles every month. She takes a budget that clearly shouldn't work, and somehow makes it work. Nobody knows how, not even economists. Every month, she transforms numbers into food, bills into solutions. And panic into, we'll figure it out. If humanity ever discovers faster-than-light travel, researchers should immediately study working-class mothers, because they're already bending the laws of reality. As a child, your life seems normal. You play with toys, watch cartoons, spend entire afternoons doing absolutely nothing productive. The greatest years of your life, basically, but occasionally reality sneaks through the cracks. You hear your parents talking late at night. Words like mortgage, rent, school fees, insurance, medical bills, electricity, gas, loan payments. You don't know what any of these words mean, but judging by the expressions on your parents' faces, they're clearly villains. One day the family car breaks down. This is when you witness one of the fundamental laws of working-class physics. Things only break when you can't afford them. The car never fails right after a bonus. It never fails when there's extra money available. No, it waits, patiently, watching, calculating, then strikes at the exact moment your savings account starts looking healthy. The mechanic announces the repair cost. Your father stares at the number like he's just been informed he'll be fighting a dragon next Tuesday. Your mother starts doing calculations in her head. You don't know it yet, but this is your first lesson in working-class economics. A financial emergency isn't an emergency because it's huge. It's an emergency because there was already no room for it. Eventually, you start school. And immediately every adult in your life begins repeating the same sentence. Study hard, get good grades, work hard, and everything will be fine. This advice sounds fantastic, mostly because nobody explains what fine means. When you're 8 years old, you're imagining mansions, sports cars, luxury vacations, private islands. The adults giving this advice are imagining something much more realistic, like being able to pay rent without feeling nauseous. School introduces you to competition. Suddenly everyone is running a race. The problem is nobody explains where the finish line is. Get good grades, then get into a good school, then get into a good college, then get a good job, then get promoted, then buy a house, then save for retirement, then. Actually, nobody really knows what happens after that, but everyone keeps running anyway. You quickly learn another hidden rule of society. People love successful workers, but they rarely notice working workers, the nurse helping patients, the mechanic fixing cars, the cashier standing for 8 hours. Warehouse employee moving thousands of boxes, the delivery driver racing through traffic, the factory worker making products, the janitor cleaning buildings. These people keep everything functioning, but most of the time nobody notices them until they stop showing up. Then suddenly society loses its mind. As the years pass, you start noticing something strange. Your parents work incredibly hard, harder than most people you know, yet money always seems to disappear every time things improve. Something happens, a repair, a bill, a fee, a price increase, an emergency. It's like playing a video game where every time you gain experience, the game immediately spawns a stronger enemy. You begin to understand why adults always seem tired. It's not just work, it's responsibility. The invisible weight nobody talks about, the constant pressure of knowing that other people depend on you. Then one evening, you're sitting at the dinner table. Your parents are discussing money again, nothing unusual there. But this time you hear something that sticks with you. Your father says, "Maybe next year will be easier." Your mother nods. Next year, the magical year where everything finally works out. The year with more money, less stress, fewer problems. Working-class families have been talking about this mysterious next year for generations, and somehow it never quite arrives, because the hidden truth about the working class isn't poverty, it's pressure. The pressure to keep going, the pressure to keep paying, the pressure to keep smiling. The pressure to keep pretending everything is under control, even when it isn't. And right now, standing on the edge of adulthood, you still believe all that hard work is going to pay off. You still believe the promises. You still believe that once school is over, life finally gets easier. Unfortunately, you're about to discover what a paycheck actually looks like. At 16 years old, you get your first job. Finally, your own money, your own paycheck, your own freedom. For approximately 6 minutes, you spend your first day imagining all the things you're going to buy. A new phone, video games, fancy clothes, food you definitely don't need, maybe even a car someday. The future looks bright. Then your first paycheck arrives. You stare at the number. It's beautiful, magnificent, life-changing. For a brief moment you feel rich, not billionaire rich, but rich enough to walk into a store and stop checking price tags. Then reality shows up. Taxes take a bite, transportation takes another, food takes another, your phone bill takes another. And somehow your paycheck starts shrinking faster than ice cream on a summer afternoon. You check your account balance 3 times. Surely there must be some mistake. There isn't. You've just been introduced to adulthood. The funny thing about earning money is that nobody tells you how many people are waiting to receive it before you do. Governments want some. Landlords want some. Banks want some. Insurance companies want some. Internet providers want some. Electric companies want some. Everyone wants a piece. By the time you're done paying everyone else, whatever remains is apparently yours. Congratulations. A few years later, you graduate. Now comes the next challenge, finding a career, not a dream job. Nobody in the working class talks about dream jobs. You talk about jobs that actually exist. You spend weeks sending applications, months sometimes. You upload your resume to websites you've never heard of. You answer personality tests designed by people who clearly have too much free time. You attend interviews where companies ask questions like, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" You resist the urge to answer, "Hopefully employed." Eventually someone hires you. Success. You now possess a full-time job, which is basically society's way of saying, "We need you somewhere between 40 and 60 hours every week until further notice." You accept because rent doesn't pay itself. At least not yet. Every morning begins the same way. An alarm clock explodes beside your bed. You immediately begin negotiating with reality. 5 more minutes, then 10 more, then somehow you're already late. You throw on clothes, grab coffee, leave the house, and join millions of other workers participating in humanity's least popular daily activity, the commute. The commute is fascinating. Thousands of people waking up early to travel somewhere they don't want to be, so they can earn money, which they need because they spent most of it surviving the previous month. Nobody looks happy. Everyone looks tired. You begin to suspect you're part of a giant economic hamster wheel. And honestly, you're not entirely wrong. The office isn't terrible, it's just strange. Everyone pretends to be passionate about spreadsheets. Meetings exist for reasons nobody understands. Managers schedule meetings to discuss future meetings. Entire departments somehow survive without producing anything visible. You don't question it, you need the paycheck. The years start moving faster. Monday becomes Friday. January becomes December, you blink. Another year disappears, and despite working harder than ever, something strange happens. You don't feel richer. Sure, your salary increases a little, but so does everything else. Then one day your boss calls you into the office. You receive a promotion. Finally, all those late nights, all those overtime hours, all those weekends checking emails, it's paying off. You celebrate. Maybe life is about to change. Maybe this is the turning point. Maybe. Then you see your new expenses. Slightly nicer apartment, slightly bigger car payment, slightly more responsibilities, slightly higher stress. And somehow your bank account looks exactly the same. But life is about to become even more complicated, because up until now, you've only been responsible for yourself. Soon you'll have a partner, a family, children, and an entirely new collection of expenses that somehow eat money faster than anything you've ever seen. One day you fall in love, which is wonderful, emotionally. Financially, however, things are about to get significantly more interesting. For the first time in your life, your problems become shared, which sounds romantic, until you realize it also means your expenses are now working together. You get married. Friends congratulate you. Family members celebrate. Everyone tells you this is one of the happiest days of your life, and they're right. Unfortunately, it's also one of the most expensive. The wedding comes and goes. The photos look amazing. The food is great. Everyone has a fantastic time. Then the bills arrive, and suddenly you understand why so many newlyweds begin their marriages staring nervously at spreadsheets. But it's okay. You're adults now. You've got jobs. You've got plans. You've got goals. Nothing can stop you except reality. Reality remains undefeated. Not long after you decide to start a family, and that's when you discover one of the universe's greatest mysteries. How can something so small cost so much money? Babies are tiny. Their clothes are tiny. Their shoes are tiny. Their beds are tiny. Yet somehow every item comes with a very adult-sized price tag. The moment your child is born, your financial priorities perform a complete factory reset. You stop thinking about yourself. Everything becomes about them. Remember when you used to spend money on hobbies? That was adorable. Now you're researching school fees, medical expenses, childcare costs, educational savings plans. You become strangely interested in comparing diaper prices, a sentence that would have horrified your younger self. Years begin passing faster than ever. The baby becomes a toddler. The toddler becomes a child. The child becomes a teenager. And somewhere during this process, you completely lose track of time. You swear they were just learning to walk. Now they're borrowing your phone charger and judging your taste in music. Meanwhile, you're working harder than ever. Not because you're ambitious, not because you're chasing luxury, but because people depend on you. Working-class people rarely work overtime to buy yachts. They work overtime to pay school fees, to cover medical costs, to keep food on the table, to make sure their children have opportunities they never had. And this is where something strange happens. The older you get, the less money becomes about buying things, and the more it becomes about buying security. You don't dream about sports cars anymore. You dream about emergency funds. You don't fantasize about luxury watches. You fantasize about not being surprised by unexpected expenses. You become an adult. Congratulations. Nobody knows exactly when it happened. Not even you. By your 40s, you become incredibly good at solving problems because you've had no choice. The working class spends decades becoming experts in adaptation. Car breaks down, figure it out. Unexpected bill, figure it out. Job restructuring. Figure it out, economic downturn, figure it out. Working-class families survive because quitting was never an option, but something else begins happening. You start noticing the wear and tear, not on your house, not on your car, on yourself. The early mornings, the long commutes, the stress, the years of carrying responsibility, it all leaves marks. Your back hurts in ways you don't remember agreeing to. Your knees make strange sounds. Your energy disappears earlier than it used to. You begin making noises every time you stand up, which, according to international law, officially qualifies you as middle-aged. And yet every morning you keep going, because responsibility doesn't retire, not yet. There are still bills, still obligations, still people counting on you, so you keep showing up. Just like millions of other working-class people, quietly, consistently, without recognition. Then one day something unexpected happens. You pause. Maybe it's during your commute, maybe it's while paying another bill, maybe it's while staring out a window after a particularly long day. But for a moment you look around, really look around, and you notice something: the roads you drive on, the stores you shop in, the buildings you work in, the packages arriving at people's doors, the factories, the warehouses, the schools, the hospitals, the offices. Everywhere you look, you see the fingerprints of working-class people. The world around you weren't built by celebrities. It wasn't built by influencers. It wasn't built by billionaires sitting in boardrooms. Was built by ordinary people showing up every day and doing difficult jobs, people exactly like you. And suddenly you realize something that's been hidden in plain sight your entire life. Society depends on the working class more than the working class depends on society. Without workers, everything stops. The shelves go empty, the deliveries stop, the lights go out, the roads crumble, the economy freezes, civilization itself starts wobbling. And yet despite carrying so much responsibility, working-class people rarely get the credit. Nobody applauds them for paying rent on time. Nobody celebrates them for working 12-hour shifts. Nobody throws parades for surviving another difficult year. They simply keep going, again, and again, and again. That's the hidden life nobody talks about. Not poverty, not wealth, pressure, responsibility, sacrifice, the quiet determination to keep moving forward no matter what happens, the willingness to put other people first, the ability to carry burdens that most people never even notice. And eventually, after decades of work, stress, sacrifice, victories, failures, responsibilities, and countless ordinary days, you look back, not at the money, not at the possessions, not even at the career. You remember the people, the family dinners, The late-night conversations, the moments you almost gave up but didn't, the lives you helped build, the people you helped support, the future you helped create. Because in the end, that's the real story of the working class. A life spent building things that often outlast you: families, communities, neighborhoods, businesses, cities, entire societies, all held together by ordinary people doing extraordinary amounts of work. And that's the hidden life of the working class nobody talks about. A life spent carrying society on your shoulders while hoping your own shoulders don't give out first. A life where success isn't measured by luxury, but by resilience. A life where nobody notices how hard you're working until you stop. And despite everything, you keep showing up anyway. Because somebody has to.